Hey everybody, this is Perch, and I've gotten a lot of questions. In fact, I was going to do a bit where I read one of the questions about this and was like, "What do you think?" Is kind of how the question ends, and I just go, "Nope," and that's the end of the video because that's really the level of attention this deserves. But then more questions have come in, and so there's a topic to be had here. But I'm going to do this. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. But the details don't really matter. And like I always say, comics should try and be evergreen, right? They should try and tell stories that are not so stuck to the time that they age out quickly. And, the good news about this topic is it comes up, it rears its head continuously, has continuously for, 10 years now. And given the amount of people who use online services and everything else, there's no reason to think it's going to stop. So I'm going to be nicely generic with this video, but you'll know what I'm talking about. And the good news is, if you're listening to this video like a year from now, you're still going to know what I'm talking. Just assume it handles the situation that you're currently dealing with and you're hearing about online, and it all fits. So the question basically came up of it's along the lines. I'm now taking 3 or 4 questions and mushing them together. It's basically here's Perch. I'm Perch. Hey Perch. What do you think about creators basically attacking each other through proxy? This is where one creator may give information to a third party to attack or whatever it happens to be someone else. And everybody has their own stories around this of, no, that's not what I was doing, or maybe it was what I was doing, or I didn't know that the third party I was talking to was going to go on a rampage about it, whatever. But the basic idea is through emails, through DMs, basically through private conversation, things get said and people get encouraged to, go on attacks to other people. And in the current situation we're talking about, that's and I look. I know this is going to get me in some hot water, but I don't know that there's been so much of this. I have gotten DMs, to my account from lots of the individuals involved, all over the place. And so, to me, none of this is surprising. In fact, it's pretty much the least surprising thing that has happened this week. Mainly because it happens all the time. That doesn't make it right. It's just this, unfortunately, is. I was asked about some of the people involved in this whole mess back in 2018. I went back and checked. I'm like, I think it was like 2 years ago. No, it was 4 years ago. And this kind of stuff was going on then. And and by the way, this isn't just some of the creators we're talking about, some of the independent comic creators. This happens in the mainstream. I think I've name dropped enough nonsense of big name creators. A writer that came from CBR, for example, who's a writer at Marvel now, who did this stuff all the time. Would do little this isn't, people label this like the Whisper Network. It's kind of different than that. It's basically, putting on a smile, putting on a mask in public, like, oh, I love everybody in my comic family. I love everyone. I want everyone to succeed. I'm a good person. And then, behind the scenes go, I don't know about those people over there. They seem kind of shady. I'll give you information and free comics or whatever it happens to be in return for going and screwing with those people over here. And again, to say it's widespread would be a massive understatement. It happens constantly. And the funny thing is, whatever side you happen to be on during this whole fuss, or any, through the years, you always think that your side is the good one. In this case, the person who writes for Marvel, I mean, come on, everybody. There's one writer from CBR that went to Marvel, who's writing for Marvel right now. We all know who I'm talking about. But she, and talking kind of directly at a con, she absolutely believes somewhere deep in her heart or soul that she's doing fine. That there's nothing bad here. I'm like, I'm just giving polite advice to people. I'm just being part of this comic community by doing this gossip. It's there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing There's nothing bad that is happening. This is all perfectly normal behavior. They believe that. And the fans of that particular writer, the people who get involved in some of this stuff, kind of do the same. Like I realize I'm carrying out attack on somebody else, but maybe that person deserves it. That person's a jerk, or the situation warrants it, or the truth must come out, or democracy dies in darkness. Whatever phrase you want to use. Everybody always feels like they're doing the right thing. They're always doing fine. And the ugliness of it, taking it back, if you're a comic fan, comic reader, you just want to buy comics. I don't know about you, but I hate seeing, when there invariably something pops out and people start posting screenshots of DMs, and it always looks gross to me. Just being honest, everyone looks gross to me. It always looks like a bunch of middle school bullshit going on there around, ooh, what do you think about this person? I don't know about that. I think we should go do this. Drag that person over there. It's gross. It's gross. And I've had enough people send me DMs that are about me, suggesting they go do things. Look, it's not lost on me that, several of the current scandal that is going on, people have gleefully gone on live streams to shit all over me. This happened, now multiple times. And again, everybody thinks they're the good guys in this. I don't know how. Look, the people I correspond with regularly, the people I talk to, tend to not have this bullshit go on. And by the way, if I'm just being brutally honest, I know this will give me no friends in all this. Some of you may be listening have sent me DMs, and now I should clarify. I'm terrible with answering email and terrible with answering DMs. It's mainly because I have a higher volume of them coming in that I know what to do with, and I do tend to like to be thoughtful in my responses. Now, you could say saying nothing is worse than, if you were flippant in your response. Saying just being silent is even worse. Probably is, but. There are a handful of DMs. I get on a regular basis DMs along the lines of, hey, what do you think about this guy over here? Hey, I can't listen to this channel anymore. Don't you think don't you think that the person who is doing this channel is terrible? And all I could say is, don't send me that shit. I'm not going to respond to it. Or I will say something along the lines of, I don't get involved in that. I don't have time to listen to that stuff. I know several of you listening right now I recognize the name, sent me stuff like, I don't know about this. This channel over here is too up the ass of the comic industry, too full of drama, too whatever. And you'll notice if I responded back to you, it's along the lines of, hey, I don't really have time to listen to any of that. That's true, but I'm also trying in my politest way possible to say, don't drag me into your shit. I don't want it. There's lots of people out there who will happily engage with that, because I don't want to have a screenshot posted on Twitter some point of me going, shitting on somebody behind their back. I don't want to have it. Do I have opinions? Plenty of them. I tell them to friends I know in real life. I do not randomly gossip about people online. Now, by the way, I am no saint. I'm not portraying myself as some person who, is better. Not at all. Not at all. To me, it's pure self-preservation. I don't want to be wrapped up in that crap. And unfortunately, so what do I think about all this? I think it's very predictable. I think it happens constantly. I think it happens at top levels of comics and the independents, crowdfunding, every for whatever reason. We seem addicted in the comic industry to get involved in this nonsense, as opposed to just making comics. And I also think in a world where, quite bluntly, and maybe this is the dad advice Perch stuff, in a world where we read about heroes and villains, we should all be pretty on top of the fact that gossiping behind someone else's back and doing this kind of backdoor nonsense, doxing people, going out of our way to embarrass somebody on a live stream, get crowds of people to go after. We all know that's bullshit villain behavior. It is. I don't care what justification you figured out in your own mind that the person deserves it. That's bullshit. We've all read enough comics to know you're being the villain. Whether you are, high level comic person, you're a Tom Taylor, or you are somebody trying to crack into the industry, you got 47 subscribers to your YouTube channel, wherever you fall in that spectrum, remember the comics you read that kind of teach you hero villain. Remember that part and ask yourself, would Superman do this stuff? I know that's very simplistic, but imagine if Superman, he doesn't really approve of Batman's methods, but Superman, he wants to continue to be seen as a good guy. So Superman's like going over to like the Flash, and he's like, I don't know, I'm perfectly fine with it, but don't you think that Batman's kind of a pedophile? I mean, he does have that whole Robin thing going on. I've never thought that myself, but it feels like a lot of people might say that. I know you, Ezra Miller. You're probably high on shrooms right now and don't even know what I'm saying. But if maybe you could ask around and see if other people think the Batman's pedophile. I would never say it myself, but maybe you could just run around real fast and just ask people what they think. I'm not telling you to do that, but maybe you could. Can you picture Superman doing that? Of course you can't, because that's the villain. That's the shit that Lex Luthor would do. So don't be Luthor. Come on. It's not that hard. You don't have to be the saint of all comics. You don't have to be the nicest guy in all this stuff. You don't have to always be the boring dad like I am. I'm not owning any of those other labels, but fine, I'll own boring dad. Why not? Actually, in fairness, that's all I really want in life. Boring, ideally good dad. But that's really it. All this rest is nonsense. My kids come first. They always have, always will. But look, I find this stuff predictably sad, and it constantly happens. And I guess whether good news or bad news, it is certainly not limited to just silly, independent online comic conversations between people. The current drama involves, one crowdfunder and another crowdfunder. Okay, but in 3 months, it'll involve somebody else. It's happening right now with the X Office. It's happening right now all over the place. And maybe, just speculating here, spitballing here, as they say, maybe part of the reason why, I kind of go after editors and go after management is because I do believe on some level that comic management, people who are paid, who are actually paid decently well and in comics, should try and set a good example and put a stop to this crap. Tell their people, like, hey, if you want to work here at the House of Ideas, then I don't want to even catch a whiff of this bullshit over here. No, none of this backstabbing crap, none of this smile on the face and try and encourage other people to, attack somebody or down their sales. So cut it out, Kelly. I'm, just saying, just hypothetically. That stuff needs to. It's gross behavior. And the funny part is, whether you are wherever you are in the spectrum of different, maybe I mean that the way it sounds, wherever you are on the spectrum, wherever you are, big, left wing, right wing, wherever you are, can you not have that in common? Can you cut it out with? But it's addictive. I mean, it's. In many cases, it's how people believe the comic industry works. You get to be an insider. You get to be an insider talking crap about somebody else. And hey, maybe the person you're talking about absolutely deserves it because they've done it. They do it themselves. They do it all the time. Sure. I don't know. If you don't want to get muddy, don't go down and get in the mud, you dumbass. It's tiring. It's extremely tiring. It doesn't need to be this way, honestly. And I know in a lot of cases it's just human nature, but can we not have that be part of comic book human nature? Again, don't be Dick Superman trying to get as poor Ezra Miller, who doesn't even know what he's doing. Try not to use him to spread rumors about Batman. Can we just not? And if you're like me and you don't like this stuff, the biggest thing the biggest watch out here, the biggest thing to pay attention to is understand that email and DMs, people fish constantly for information. What do you think about this? How's this guy? What do you think about that person? Just don't get involved. Get out of it. Get out, because it is phishing. It is absolutely phishing. All that's happening is at some point your conversation is going to get screenshotted and posted. And I will tell you, if one of mine ever does, it's photoshopped, because my conversation is boring as shit. So in that instance, yeah, Mumbles is correct. My DMs are as dull as you can imagine. And you know what? I'm very happy with that. Thanks for listening.